and I win. I think this is the right one. Yes.
This week on the Squatchers Lounge podcast, coming straight from the last episode, we're circling back on Bigfoot conservation. This is a really interesting topic that Jeff and I have not yet done the show. Hashtag no rehash. And as usual, we'll have some great news coming for you, and there are special messages from all our friends. And David may not hug a tree. We'll just have to wait and see. And now I turn it over to our host, your pal, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
He said, I am Bigfoot, using brutally honest rock hardcore beats, put their frustration and anger about life in a dangerous place in America's woods into the most powerful weapon they had, their music. Taking us back to where it all began, straight out of the Redwoods, tell your story of how these cultural rebels, armed with only their lyrics, swagger, bravado, and raw talent, stood up to the Bigfoot that meant to keep them down and formed the world's most dangerous group, Sasquatches with Attitude. And as they spoke the truth that no one had before and exposed life in the hood, their voice ignited a social revolution that is reverberating today. Join us for Straight Out of the Redwoods.
Well, there you have it, folks. Sponsored this week by Straight Out of the Redwoods. Not coming to Redbox near you. That's right. I'm your host, the Reverend Jeff. You are watching the Squatchers Lounge podcast, and over there is the greatest man and announcer in band history, because you can see I suck at it, Dr. David Batdor, Esquire. How you doing, buddy?
Esquire. Good. I'm feeling really, really postulous for this topic. It's going to be a good one.
Postulation.
Something I spent a lot of time thinking about one day or another.
Yes, I do believe it is going to be a wonderful, wonderful night of postulation as we talk about the craziness of Bigfoot conservation. What would it actually take and all the things that go with it? But first, we're going to talk about some news. Let's get a little newsy with it. Prehistoric massacre hints at war amongst hunter-gatherers 14,500 years ago. What did you call us, David?
We were dicks even back then.
That's right. We were dicks even back here. That's right. The scene was a lagoon on the shore of Lake Turkana in Kenya. The time was about 10,000 years ago. One group of hunter-gatherers attacked and slaughtered another, leaving the dead with crushed skulls, embedded arrows or spear points, and other devastating wounds. Doesn't that suck?
It really, Stone Age tools would probably be the worst way to die. I'm just going to say.
Oh, here's another great one. This poor skeleton lady was found with a fetal skeleton in her belly. So they just buried her like with, look at that. That's just that.
Yeah.
Bad. Takes even back then. Hey, if you want to check this one out, came out of the New York Times on the 21st of January. It's actually kind of cool article to go through and read. Hey, THV 11, that's right, this CBS crap hole. I don't even know why I even have this up now. Oh, we had to say goodbye to Rocco the orangutan and screw this page because it's just been nothing but horrible.
Make it stop.
Yeah. Rocco the zoo half-breed. He was a hybrid orangutan. I guess between the two types of orangutans, he was a hybrid. I don't know. He died at like 36, while under anesthesia for a procedure. It happens when you put older animals down. Sadly, bye-bye to Rock.
Yes.
Moving right along. Hey, Pacific Northwest Squatch sightings and encounters. As Cliff, as he analyzes the Silver Star Mountain sighting once again from the last Hopsquatch. Cliff is a great guy, and I we're going to talk about this one. This one's going to be one of our big Bigfoot encounters this season, and we're going to take a look at this one because I kind of like this one. It's cold. Dude ain't got no pack on.
So yeah. For me, I'm always like, oh, okay, what is the possibility for the hoax? And this at this distance with that, like to set that up.
It was one mountain peak to another mountain peak with a long telephoto lens is how they got the pictures.
Exactly. And so to set that up seems almost, it's ludicrous that somebody would go to those lengths. So
Sort of like the Patterson film.
Yeah, it would be hard to think of it as a hoax now. What is it exactly? Well, it's a human-like figure, and that's all that we're ever going to get from this image. And that's the problem with the Sam Squanch, is that it's always going to be a human-like figure because it is.
Yeah, exactly. Almost human-like. The thing looked like it was human. Hey, did you see that thing? It was almost human.
Hey, that's not a Sasquatch. It looks human. Well, yeah.
It
does.
It does, exactly. Hey, did you hear that Pluto is more like Hoth than you ever thought? It's full of frozen friggin' ice. That's right, the dwarf planet is now back in everybody's eyeballs because it's got rocket fuel.
It's got water. What? Now we want it back as a planet, I'm pretty sure. Just we're going to be like, hey, mind if we take you back there, Pluto?
Well, here's the problem again being with Pluto.
You had your chance. You broke my heart.
Is if we make Pluto a planet, then we have to make the other like 3,000 objects in the Kuiper Belt that are the same size as Pluto planets too. Yes. So we go from 8 real planets to 30,000, 3,008 planets. Yeah. Simply because there's so many of those Pluto-sized things out in the Kuiper Belt, and they very well could be frozen friggin' solid ice as well, because they're way, way, way out there. I mean, Pluto wasn't even discovered for I think it was another 250 years after they knew of everything else. Pluto was like, hey, by the way, y'all, hi, y'all. I'm your gay cousin, Leroy. Nobody talks about. I don't know why I said gay cousin. Could be anything, but yeah. Well, we don't have a whole lot of those fans. Trust me, they're over watching that other show.
Yeah, it's like so. My question is like, hey, Pluto, where'd you get the water?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? I want to know.
That big ass hole in the side of my planet. Yeah, that was a comet, biatch. How do you think I got that water? I got the same way everybody else did, by collision. I mean, that's really how water gets delivered onto a planet. Is things slam into it, leave it behind. So, it's not that mistakenly, but yeah, I mean, Pluto all of a sudden now becomes the basis for deep space exploration. Neil deGrasse, bitch.
That's right. So, don't forget about your old friend Pluto. That's
right. He's still hanging out there, just like your gay cousin Leroy. All right. Now, what species would become dominant on Earth if humans died out? I mean, would it? I doubt very seriously that it would be another primate, because if humans die out, chances are primates are going to die out too.
Yeah, we all kind of have the same basic.
I mean, we've almost killed all the fuckers off as it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's. I don't think there's going to be like a monkey super uprising. The monkeys that are super populous are dependent on humans,
and they're little tiny bastards anyhow. So
everything else is going to eat them. Yeah, you think about the really smart animals, you're like, oh, well, it's gonna be rats or like the populous, cockroaches or crows or something like that.
I still say it's gonna be the friggin' cephalopods, man. The rise of the squid, the calamarians.
Calamarians, there we go. So the really interesting questions. Like if you think about that, you're like, okay, well, maybe rats are gonna take over. Cockroaches and rats need us to be as successful as they were. They jumped onto our bandwagon. So if we were just immediately wiped out, what would be the most, the dominant life form on the planet? And that would be
there's a thought.
Question.
The current era is the age of flowering plants. So basically Little Shop of Horrors, Audrey too. I mean, that's what would be, dude, we would have, could you imagine this? Walking around trees like Treebeard. You're done.
I severely think that this is not going to happen. However, if the plants take over and there's lots of flowering plants, then nectar eating would be like, it's going to be the planet of the bees, right? Or
you thought we were gone, bitches.
Mothra becomes a real thing.
Mothman, my ass. He was Beehive Man. He's been hiding out his identity all this time. Holy crap. So yeah, so you can check this one out, as of course we always IFL Science. Why don't I have that link? Freaking God, we're gonna go back to this because I want that God blessed link in here because we're gonna talk about the kitty, the damn United States only living known Jaguar.
Known.
Well, and I say known for a reason is because I'm pretty sure in a Mississippi swamp when I was 16 and we were visiting my brother's girlfriend's where her people came from. Yeah, he married a swamp girl from Mississippi like a dumb shit.
Your brother's gay cousin?
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I'm sure she wasn't my family, but I don't know how far removed.
Well, it was a Mississippi swamp, so
exactly. I'm pretty sure I saw a black jaguar up in a large tree branch overlooking us as we was going up a trail to a watering hole to go swimming. And we was kicking the water moccasins through as it was. And I'm a good guy. I can hang with the water. The snakes don't really want to bother your big dumb ass. Leave them alone. They leave you alone. It kind of works like that. But shit like this, looking down at you from a tree going, oh, you looking on,
Just make one quick move. I dare you.
Why don't you go ahead and run, motherfucker? We'll find out what happens to you. I mean,
this is an interesting thing because this is like outside of Tucson, correct?
Yes. Outside of Arizona.
Yeah, in Tucson, Arizona. So this is far enough away from where we expect. So this creature is more likely
it's a known Central American dweller.
American dweller. But you see, there's this thing called the Sonoran Desert that supposedly cut them off from North America, which is pretty important. But how does one, and like we talk about with Sasquatch all the time, if there's one, there's more. And how could we have overlooked that? 25 miles outside, it says 25 miles from downtown Tucson, Arizona. That's crazy.
Yes, exactly.
It's possible it's an escaped pet or something. It might not be a naturally occurring thing, but there's the fact that it just shows up there and it shouldn't be there. That is as crazy as seeing a Sasquatch on game cam. Yes, it's an extant creature, but it should not.
It's definitely a cryptid in that area. It definitely should not be there.
Yep, exactly.
So again, over to our friends at IFL Science. They got the answer for everything. Okay, now talking about something a little more serious. We had a show once upon a time called The Crash and Burn of the Falcon Project. Crashes and burns. And unfortunately for us, it was the one episode that Google decided to just randomly insert video bits like every 15 seconds and just jumble the whole thing. If you've got severe ADD and on cocaine while drinking energy drinks and snorting meth, you might be able to keep up with it. But
no, I think in that exact situation, the only thing that you could do is have the attention span to maybe chop it up and put it back together in the right order.
If somebody will do that, I will even delete the original and put it back up. But I just don't have the patience to do it. Anyhow, the Falcon Project failed miserably, and everybody knew it would. It was a sham scam from the beginning. This dude right here, William Allen Barnes, put people in the woods saying, I have money to support you and equipment coming to support you. Go ahead, go out in the field. Week 1 passed, week 2 passed, no help, no nothing. Week 3 passed, no help, no nothing. All of a sudden, there's no money. And this dude's just leaving everybody holding. He just disappears. Like, people can't get a hold of him. Just like the guys that are in the field finally said, screw it, I'm out. We're going home. This is over. And the screwed up thing is in the 3 weeks that they were out there, they had 2 possible encounters that could have come with fantastic video had this jackass actually provided the equipment that supposedly was out there. And Dr. Meldrum was involved in the middle of all that, as well as the college. Well, Now, after 6 months in hiding, Genius comes out with, "I'll just go get me a GoFundMe account and I'll get it done my way." Well, Mr. Hollywood, Mr. I got big friends, I'm a money getter, that's what I do, apparently couldn't get any money for the Falcon Project and left people hanging for that. Now he's asking for $65,000 of Joe Average's money because Hollywood said, "Go fuck yourself." Well, I was first on board when we saw this mess came up. Somebody sent it to me. I won't even say who sent it to me. We won't even get involved with who sent it to me. But that dude was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Oh, here, let me go ahead and put an announcement up in the lounge right away. The Squatchers Lounge podcast in no way endorses William Allen Barnes for a Happy Meal, let alone $65,000. He couldn't handle $5,000 because that disappeared on him. Had no idea where it went. What the hell are you going to try and do with $65,000? And the reason that we're bringing this up, these aren't our actions, people. We are not shit-talking people. We are just telling you the truth, that if you give this man a penny, chances are you'll never see anything because it's GoFundMe. You don't have to. He's not promising you shit. He just wants he wants you to give him $65,000 so he can go make a documentary of the truth of these creatures. Now, I know, David, you got just, I'm going to wrap this right up. He wants all the money he's raising will go to filming equipment and expenses for the ground crew for 6 months in the field. This is a documentary about the truth of these creatures, not a reality show. There's a lot we know and can prove about them. And
yeah. So the beautiful thing, like if you use words like truth and all of these things, very, very hopeful words, the founder of the Falcon Project, and that should just basically, like, if people were actually to Google that, could just say that it's a reason not to give him any money right there. But I'd like to talk about the differences, because a lot of people are using this GoFundMe thing right now, especially in this field. And the difference between Kickstarter and GoFundMe is, in Kickstarter, you peddle a product. Hey, here's what we want to do. Here's the prototype. Here's what it's going to take to put it together. We need funds to get this off the ground. And what we're going to do is we're going to sell you a product or a package. There's perks. There's something you're going to get for your money. And if you fund us, we're going to turn that back into, I mean, the greatest example was, there was a card game developed by an online comic like artist who does funny comics on the web, basically through Facebook and his website only, teamed up with some guys who make games. They were going to deliver this card game, Exploding Kittens, the most funded Kickstarter of all time. What you got was the game. They pitched the game. You could donate, you donate $20 and you got the game, right? That was it. Like, you're pre-purchasing their idea. People who do this with movies, like, hey, here's the perk. You get, you get credits, you get this, you get that, you get a copy, you get to meet the actors, you get to be on set, you get, like, they give you something for that. GoFundMe just says, hey, this is what I want to do, and let's populate this account with money. And when the GoFundMe is over, I get all that money. If there's not enough, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll.
Actually, it's even worse than that, David. GoFundMe doesn't care. GoFundMe takes 5% of the donation, and then there's a little fee that comes out with your withdrawal. But it's just like a bank account. Once that money's in there, it's available for you to withdraw and take. So I'm so glad to see that, because I have had an online presence with this. As a lot of Ross Mock, a lot of other people, Randy. The lot of them are right there with me. Thank you. We're preaching to the choir with you guys, but we're talking to the general public that's going to come across this later on. Don't give this clown a penny. And thank God, so far, not a penny.
So we talked about Melba Ketchum had her GoFundMe. We've got William Allen with his GoFundMe, and what they're doing is they're setting these, like, how much does it really take to purchase a good camera and to put together a promotion? Like, you've got people that are
production companies do it for less than $10,000.
Like, so even with the whole idea of trying to fund people in the woods, like even if he's got willing participants, which he had, that were willing to probably fund their own expeditions, it just there was a promise that wasn't delivered on, and $65,000. It's just not going to happen. $100,000, whatever Melvin Ketchum was asking for. I forget what it was, like
95,000. 95 grand is what she wants for her Bigfoot.
They're setting these amounts so high that they can say that, hey, I didn't reach my $65,000 or $95,000 goal, so I can't do what I was like. I didn't reach the goal, so I can't produce anything. But they get to keep all the money in the middle.
Right. It's not that they didn't get that money. Your money's not coming back to you. Once you give it to GoFundMe, there is no getting that money back. Not like Kickstarter.
Yeah. So Kickstarter,
that money.
If they don't raise the funds, that money comes back to the donor.
Exactly. Now,
big difference.
I want to go back to this little part here. All the money I'm raising will go to filming and equipment expenses for the ground crew for 6 months in the field. Now, I had a little interaction with William Barnes when he posted this on his on his Facebook page the other day, and I figured I'd go ahead and share that with some of you. Now, Thomas K says that he thought that's what happened, and he was willing to actually go out and be part of the ground crew with him. Again, seriously, really. Bruce Kelly asked a question about the PR work, and then of course the jackass Reverend Kelly kicks in here. What is this? There's a lot we know and can prove about them. If you could prove anything about them, they would be listed as a species. Do you have anything that you can prove? $65,000 is a lot of money to ask for when it seems $5,000 was too much to handle on the last go around. Also, with it being a GoFundMe, you're not required to show any results or proof. Is that why you went with them and not Kickstarter? Well, of course, William replies that there was zero money at the end. I've made $700 in 8 years. That equals 2.5 cents a day. And why GoFundMe? Well, what money I get goes to the ground crew from last year first. What money What money I get goes to the ground crew from last year first. And we'll go over here. All money I'm raising will go to filming equipment expenses for the ground crew of 6 months in the field. So, which is it? Are you paying back the guys from the last time you fucked everybody, or are you hiring new people to do this? I'm a little confused there. So of course, when I go back into it, as usual, he didn't answer any of the questions. I said, you failed to answer any direct question. Why would people entrust you with a Happy Meal, let alone $65,000? I asked what you can prove about Bigfoot, which is the premise for your GoFundMe page, yet you have no answers at all. As usual, we have to assert that you know nothing about the unknown creature and simply asking people to pay for you to play researcher in the woods. That's really the way I feel about it. Then he comes back and says, yes, I can prove they're real and not from the air. Been telling people for years how to do it on the radio shows, but people don't listen. It's the cost that they do not like, and you have to do it in the large scale. William has real hard times in communicating in written English. What cat flow? Can you read what zero means? Hollywood is a joke. Is there any way or no way you sign a contract and they own you? You have something they want, you own them. So he still didn't answer the question about what he can prove or what he can't prove. This is the problem with this guy. He can't even communicate in written English enough to make you want to give him a penny. So please, people, just for the last time, I would just a friendly reminder from the old Reverend, and I'm sure I'm speaking for Dr. Batdorf as well. Don't give this clown a cent, not a penny, not a finger.
Not a finger. The bottom line is we've heard these promises before, and there's even and in this day and age, there's an even better way for them to relieve you of your money, and that is the GoFundMe account. Just don't do it. Melba does it. Alan Barnes is doing it. Other people have done it. Just stop with the GoFundMe. Anything on GoFundMe, unless it's like somebody setting up, for somebody's cancer medications. Like, and even then be skeptical. Unless you know the person, you know that they have cancer. It's like there's so much that needs to be vetted in these situations. Just drop by the person's house and give them some money. I mean, come on.
Yeah, let's just do something rather than give it to this clown. I mean, hell, send it to us. We'll find something creative. If you want to give somebody money, we'll put a donate me up on the PayPal list, and you can send us some cash, and we'll gladly take care of it for you.
I'll film myself falling down in a creek. It'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, I did it at Bluff Creek. It's all good. Hey, let's give a shout out into the podcast world where they're actually watching us live. We still can't figure out why, but thank you. Life and Times of JCM, the Jesus Christ of Monterey Bay. Jevin Seymour is out there. Rod Dupree. Dick Jones, that's still not his real name when he's not from Cincinnati. Cameron Young. Let's see here. Bio Armigio. I'm trying, bro. I really am. You gotta send me a message with how to pronounce that phonetically, and phonetics. Will try. Exactly. Dean Cooper, our quasi-scientist, says I ain't got no muse this week, so screw y'all. No, actually, he's just it's one of them things. Well, he'll be back in with us soon with some more quasi information. Is that all that's out there? You better type it in now if you're not, because I'm got it down to the bottom of this. Whoop. Yeti's uncle stops in. Hello there, Yeti's uncle. Paul D. Giamaco. Nah, that ain't right. My eyeballs are so cross-eyed. There's too many freaking vowels in that, you dago. Why don't you add a couple of consonants and we'll talk about you later. But hi, Paul. Dave Stumpf. Hey, we're glad you're out there. Cameron Young, if I didn't mention you before, I sure as hell have now. D. Fuller, hello from Vermont. And I think that is the end of it. God bless y'all for watching live at the Squatchers Lounge podcast. Woo, we're live Thursday night too. And lots of people checking in. I got one of them pimples on the inside of my eyeball over here, so that's why it's so damn red. And y'all we don't even talk about it. It's just, yeah. God hates me. Yeah, just, woo. Oh, man. I've been taking care of a zoo all week. Hey, you know what time it is, David?
It's about that time.
It's time to talk about our topic finally, and it's not going to be for just 5 minutes. Hey, we're talking about Bigfoot conservation. So last week, we brought up the laws. You want to do a recap on the laws for us there, David? I give you, if I stall for like 35 seconds, you can probably get those up.
Yeah. Well, we could go. I'll bring them up later. Like we'll come back to that. But so the laws in Washington, the only laws on the books in the United States or in the world, in Skamania County, one had been amended once. We went over that in the last show, and I'll see if I can bring those up. But and the one in Whatcom County also, it's a resolution that's not actually a law, but points to some land use rules. That's all we have for Sasquatch conservation. They're Sasquatch refuge and sanctuary areas in Skamania and Whatcom counties. And Skamania is in lower central Washington, below Puget Sound. Whatcom County is up in the northwesternmost corner of Washington, abutting the Canadian border. But what does that mean, really? What does that mean? It means exactly nothing in Whatcom County. It just asks us to observe the Sasquatch's right to be sanctified, to have sanctuary.
It's a gross misdemeanor to kill a Sasquatch.
Well, and it's a gross misdemeanor to kill a Sasquatch with prior intent. If you go out hunting a Sasquatch and actually kill one, that's a gross misdemeanor, the same as if you go out intending to hunt and kill a bear.
Right. It's the same. Right. It's the same 11 months, 29 days if you go out and
which
pick somebody in the balls.
Which, by the way, in the entire state of Washington, all the statutes are different state by state. You have to look into this. I looked into this a long time ago. It was interesting to me. Like, I was actually really interested in Sasquatch conservation, if you will. But, like, what are the laws pertaining to this state by state by state, not because I felt like we needed to prosecute Justin Smeha, but because that story kind of got my wheels turning in that direction, right? And I was really interested in that because it was like the if Sasquatch exists, then they are probably inadequately protected by law. So looking into this, it basically would be the same as, like if it's not listed in the state of Washington, you can't shoot it. So it would be a poaching charge still. Same as Skamania County has Bigfoot, Yeti, hairy ape man on the books. Whatcom County has this other thing that's not really there's no ordinance. It's just a resolution, and it never made it to ordinance. A nice nod, a good bit of arcana, but doesn't really have any teeth to it. There is there's nothing aside from the whole state of Washington. You can't just kill. Like if there was a Jaguar. A Jaguar in the state of Washington, it shouldn't be there. It's not listed in any way, shape, or form, but you can't just shoot it.
You can. You just can't get caught shooting it.
Unless it was being a nuisance. Well, but the whole point of killing a Sasquatch, right, is to show it to the world.
Well, if you're willing, look, it's like this. It's like, don't do the crime if you're not willing to do the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, you're in a hunting zone. And you're camping on the left side of on the left side of the road. The right side of the road is public open public open hunting, but the left side of the road is not. It's lottery system only. But you're literally separated by 20 feet of pavement, and a big old buck walks up to your campsite on the left side of the road one morning. Do you shoot it, or do you scare it across the road and then shoot it? Either way, one way or another, it's going down. If you're willing to take the poaching charge, then you just blast that bitch. If you're not willing to take the poaching charge and you shoot one at his feet, make it run across the street, and then shoot his ass dead over there. One way or the other, it's going to end up a dead ass deer.
Yeah, exactly. So those are hair splitters. But in some other states like Texas, they suggest that if it's on private property, that you could just shoot.
You own it. Well, that's the thing. In a lot of states, it's like that. In Florida, as a matter of fact, if you look on your property, it belongs to you. And since it belongs to you and it's an animal, you can do as you please. Shoot that bitch. Nobody cares.
So the actual like the way that the statutes work in Texas, and what people were arguing, like, hey, even the land management folks in Texas stepped up and said, no, that's not exactly what we mean.
It's not exactly true. We'll probably still try to charge you with something.
It's like the reference to, so you can, on private property, you can take listed species in the season and in the time. You can't take an out of season deer on private property because it's out of season. But the open and the nebulous, the gray area was just listing fur-bearing species, which fur-bearing species are listed elsewhere, right? So it's basically saying that, and then there's like basically an et cetera column that, okay, so it's fitting into like marmot, like I'm thinking marmots because it was Marmot Day the other day, but like varmints and things like that. Sasquatch doesn't really apply in that category. Like it's not a beaver, it's not a raccoon, it's not a fur-bearing species. Like trapping it for.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't mind a Sasquatch rug. I'd have a Sasquatch rug right here in the living room. It'd be kind of nice. I'd leave the head and the hands on. The feet I would probably have mounted up on the wall, but
yeah. So anyway, like the interesting thing about this is like state by state, it's totally going to vary. And people argue it all the time. And even in states with laws on the books, the laws are no different than hey, you just can't shoot it unless it's in season. And we'll tell you whether it's in season or an open species. And if it's not a listed open species for all year round, then you can't take it in the state of Washington.
Again, you can't get caught taking it because it happens all the time. Don't squeeze the fruit if the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Exactly. But the whole point for taking a Sasquatch is to show it, and then you're going to get caught because like what do you
Well,
do?
yeah, no matter what, you're screwed. If you look at it that way, if you kill a Sasquatch and you're gonna release it to the world yourself, yeah, you're screwed. You're gonna get charged with something, but you're going to have enough instant money to afford a good lawyer, or you'll be able to say, "Look, dude, I just killed a Bigfoot and I showed it to the world, and now they're charging me with poaching. Can you keep me out of jail? It's only a misdemeanor." And any lawyer will go, "Yeah, it's not a problem."
Yeah.
I mean,
but okay, so in Skamania County,
away all day long. I mean,
Skamania County, if they find it to be a member of the Homo species, like the Homo genus, right? Then you're screwed.
If you kill your hairy ass Uncle Juju who lives out back behind the shed, you're gonna go to jail for murder. But if you kill a Sasquatch who's probably just another kind of chimp, I doubt they're gonna find it in the Homo line. But
exactly, but you have to weigh that into your equation too, because there's a potential that it could be Homo naledi on there could be a potential to track that back. Anyway, so with all that speculation aside, what do you do for Sasquatch conservation? How, without any provenance or without any documentation whatsoever, aside from lore and purported spore, to quote, would you? I guess the question is, are they doing okay?
Yeah.
And if they're not doing okay, well, how do you prove that? If they are doing okay, what do we need to change? What are the needs of a Sasquatch, and how?
Immediately you have to stop logging, period. Logging stops. I mean, that's how you have to protect habitat for these large and woodland dwelling creatures. They're going
you have to protect viable habitat in the current range. You can't just say, well, shit, we used to have trees all over the place, so now we cut them all down in North America, so we have to just stop and let them grow all back. That doesn't work. But you have to maintain a viable habitat for those species. We saw it with the spotted owl was a big deal up here in the 90s.
My God, are you kidding me? Absolutely. That's like a prime example of
it's a good example of conservation and the efforts that went behind that, and maybe even taking it too far, but
maybe
so yes, we took it too far, but because this thing lives everywhere, and anytime you saw, but they did become endangered because of habitat loss, but they live everywhere, so all of a sudden you can't log anywhere. But they didn't say, well, you can't log down in the lowlands and the highlands that have already been cleared. They just said you can't log in old growth natural forests, which was built into a lot of our planning prior to that anyway, and it became the poster child of that. There were a lot of like urban development plans that really banked on that already, or that they were pushing for that already, and then the owl became the poster child and somehow demonized by the logging industry for that. But it was really a conservation effort that didn't have anything to do with a fucking owl. But anyway, but that's what happens is that they found the prime and the best habitat, and it was old growth, not previously logged, high range Pacific Northwest rainforest. Okay, we'll leave that alone. Is that different than than what was going to be set aside anyway? Because we've been trying to preserve that in a lot of areas in Washington State prior to that. Is it any different than what we would try to protect for Sasquatch? That's why when I say the Whatcom County resolution for being a Sasquatch preservation and refuge area was pushed into a land use act, really what they're looking at is the most wild and viable habitats, and say, well, that's probably just good enough if we just don't develop these really lush environments that have the fishers and possibly the wolves, or possibly the grizzly bears and the black bears and like all these other things, and the salmon and all these things. We need to preserve that. But by doing that, that probably takes care of this other thing that we can just sweep under the rug and just have as a bit of like fun factoid arcana for our county. So, but again, that what it really comes down to is that the land use conservation. What can we do to not make it any worse is the whole idea of what we're doing as far as conservation and land use now versus how are we going to protect the Sasquatch? Well, it doesn't fucking matter. We just need to not make things any worse for them, and they're going to live.
Currently, they're out there. I mean, we know that they're out there. We experience them every once in a while. However, let's go back to that thought, though. Are they not doing very well? If they're not doing very well, then all of a sudden now we have to round up 15, 20, 25, or 30 of them so we can spread them out over zoos and start Sasquatch breeding programs. Now, because the male, you can just like sperminate, and then you can impregnate all the females as they become gestated, so you can have one male and like a bunch of females. So I guess you wouldn't need as many males as females. But exactly how many volts of electricity does it take to make a male Bigfoot orgasm? Thanks, Dean.
I could probably take a 9-volt battery and a little massage oil and make that happen. No, so I mean, think about this though, like the rounding up and the zoo aspect of it. That's not going to do anything. Captive bred apes don't go back into the wild. They don't go back into the wild. Like, so what you need is land use areas.
But to preserve the endangered species, of course, you have to have zoo breeding. At least that's what we're doing now.
Nope. We're pretty much going to lose. The giant tortoises and the white rhinos and all those other things, because we can keep them in zoos, but that doesn't preserve the species. It doesn't keep them in the wild. It doesn't conserve the habitat in which they live or preserve. Well,
look, if them turtles are too dumb to fuck and preserve their own species, there ain't a whole lot I can do for them.
But I mean, really, like, I was trying to integrate. There was a great article about an arachnid that's like 90 million years ago or 90,000 years ago with a fully intact erection. Anyway, encased in amber. Yeah.
Talk about that there. Let's put that in your friggin' poll there in your king there Jurassic Park dude.
Anyway, so. But the whole idea of conservation and preservation and this whole thing, it's a farce as it includes Sasquatch, but all of the laws and land use that's out there should make things better for Sasquatch. Right, like, and if it doesn't, then you have to actually, like, what's the recourse? Well, don't talk about Sasquatch, but talk to your local governments about land use. And hey, this area is prime Sasquatch territory. But just look at the other things. Why is nobody doing that study anyway? Like, why is that prime Sasquatch territory? List those things, think about them. What else uses that? You're probably going to come up with a correlative study and you're going to blow your mind and something wide open is going to happen. And you're like, oh, now I found Sasquatch. But so there's the whole thing is really complex, and it's very important to the whole idea of like, hey, where do they live? What do they eat? Why would they be in this area? Okay, well, maybe they're eating this and this. Find out what's eating that. Something's eating those things. They just don't grow unharassed their entire lives. Something's eating the things that are edible. So, those are interesting things to go look at and then try to find spore that attaches to that sort of thing. I've always been a big fan of that. But those are the preservation areas and the nature preserves, the national parks, all these set aside lands. Don't go conspiracy theory on me where you think that's set aside for Sasquatch, but those are the areas that are probably usable by a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So conservation is pretty much where it is. If you're trying to preserve wolves, if you're trying to preserve elk, if you're trying to preserve salmon, you're probably doing the right thing to preserve Sasquatch. So maybe we don't need this big effort after all. But what we just need to do is look at the habitats that are healthy for wild animals and continue to protect those.
No. We got to put up great big fences. I'm talking 35-foot chain friggin' reinforced titanium linked space age shit electrified to keep them big fuckers in where they belong.
Yep. Well, if only, and then they would breed more often because they'd be bored.
Right. Well, we could throw some toys. We'll have some helicopters dropping some Sasquatch foot toys. Some great big soccer balls. We'll teach them to play soccer. Oh, that's football for all of our European watchers. We actually have a game over here called American football. That is the biggest, most retarded thing on the planet. And I know this coming weekend is like the Super Bowl, and it's literally like 90 miles that way from me. And I could
Super Bowl.
I'm glad you cannot say that. That's no, that is copyrighted. The big game,
the Super Bowl,
and nobody gives a flying crap in this household who wins, loses, or draws. So, hey, all you whacktards, I'm gonna have lots of videos up this weekend, including a brand new Bigfoot campfire stories. It's time to kick off season deuce of the Bigfoot campfire stories. So that's what's happening this weekend on the Squatcher Styles podcast channel. Mr. David, sure, it's been a pleasure.
As usual.
We're going to try to be back on the air again next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we'll talk about after the show what's next Wednesday's topic is going to be. Yeah, because I don't want to announce it yet. So that's where we're at, man. Anything coming up for you this week?
Nope, just try to make showtime.
Yeah. Well, shit happens. It's a podcast. That's the good thing about it. Watch us on Monday nights. Well, we were on Tuesday this week, so we screwed that all up too. The Bigfoot Entertainment Weekly Show. This week we have a real friggin' doozy for you. It's something that much along the lines of Dear God, No, but it's with a twist. It's called Demon Warp. That's right. You can find it on YouTube. Just search for Demon Warp, and you'll be all caught up for Monday night's show. It's amazing.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds amazing. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks to our podcast sponsor, straight out of the Redwoods. Y'all want to join us Monday night for Bigfoot Entertainment because we got WTF Theater with the latest edition of I Got Your Harmonica Right Here, MFer Uncensored. And David, you got a preview of that before the show. What did you think, buddy?
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be. The story's getting epic, folks.
Gonna be epic. That's right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Robert Jeff for the Dr. David Batdorf Esquire. Thanks for watching. May the Squatch be with you.
Some bitch.
Thanks to Guy Edwards for the picture of tonight's background. Approximation. Everybody's heard the Bigfoot howl.
Now it's time for the Batdorf approximation. Ohio Howl.
That's right, the Reverend Jeff.